Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the nanoparticles, nanomedicines, and artificial intelligence and their convergent roles in advancing healthcare systems. So I'll introduce this topic in a way that initially I would like to talk about the nanoparticles and then the nanomaterials which are used for building the nanomedicine, and then nanomedicine and different examples of nanomedicine, and then finally the artificial intelligence and uh, convergent application related to nanomedicine and artificial intelligence. So that is how we are going to build up this talk. So let me start by talking about the Nobel Prize, a recent Nobel Prize of last year, 2023, which was given in chemistry for the drug and discovery of the quantum dots, which are nothing but the uh, nanomaterials only. And these three scientists have got the Nobel Prize, making these quantum dots extremely important molecules for the healthcare systems. And not only healthcare systems, but for other applications also. But since we are going to remain confined only to the medicinal part of the nanoparticles. So I would only be only be talking about them. So if you just look at the history uh, of nanotechnology, you will realize that a lot of Nobel Prizes have already been given related to various aspects of nanotechnologies, especially starting from 1986, when a Nobel Prize was given for the design of scanning tunneling microscope. And this instrument basically was used for identifying and for looking at the atoms in particular uh, very clearly, and from there sort of nanotechnology boom started, and then different kinds of materials have been developed and utilized for various purposes of various purposes. Fullerene discovery got the Nobel Prize in 1996, then fluorescent protein, then graphene, different kinds of material development and the procedures have been getting Nobel Prizes. And the importance of this topic or the nanotechnology builds up on the basis of the same. And quite recently, that is this year only in 2024, a Nobel Prize in Physics have been awarded to John Hopfield and Geoffrey Hinton for their excellent work in artificial neural networks and machine learning. And the Chemistry Nobel Prize is awarded to the Demis Hassabis, John Jumper, and David Baker for using machine learning to tackle one of the biology's biggest challenges, that is to predict the 3D shapes of proteins and designing them from scratch. So interestingly, more or less, both the chemistry and the physics Nobel Prizes of 2024 have gone to the artificial intelligence or the machine learning. Hence, this field obviously becomes extremely important. And for last 4 or 5 decades, people have already been working on various aspects related to nanotechnology as well as artificial intelligence. And a lot has already been done. We'll try to see what exactly this field is all about, starting from scratch till where we are today. So, interestingly, when you look at when you try to find out the history of nanotechnology, it's not just 4 or 5 decades back. You will realize that people have identified that starting from 7th century, this Roman cup, which is known as the Lycurgus cup, uh, is a very fine example of the nanotechnology in which gold, silver, and a couple of other nanoparticles have been used. And the beautiful color of the this glass is because of that, which is still the same. And from 7th century onwards, there are thousands of examples of similar types. If you just look at the European cathedrals, which were made during 7th to 17th century, uh, a lot of colored glasses have been used in the windows of the cathedrals. And these colored glasses on windows are very, very fine examples of nanotechnology, though people uh, uh, might not know that this exactly is because of the nanotechnology, and these terms have been given quite recently. But still, these things have been existing for quite a long time. The current boom of nanotechnology basically started from this American theoretical physicist named Richard Feynman, who has given a talk on 29 December 2000, 29 December 1959, which was titled as "There is a plenty of room at the bottom." And this talk was given during an American Physical Society meeting at California Institute of Technology. And so, what did he mean? He actually said that that we can actually go down to the atomic or the molecular level of a substance, and still there is a lot to which can be explored and which can be modulated or which can be controlled and for various applications um, in varied fields. In 1965, he also got the Nobel Prize in Physics for fundamental work in quantum electrodynamics. So his talk basically sort of flared up this particular topic, and people started talking about it and exploring more and more about it. Later in 1974, this Japanese scientist, Professor Norio of Tokyo Science University, he has coined the term which was known as nanotechnology, Professor Norio Taniguchi. And as I mentioned earlier, that after the discovery of the scanning tunneling microscope, this nanotechnology field actually started moving very fast because observing the metals and atoms at this small scale became possible because of that scanning tunneling microscope, and which was followed by some other similar kind of equipments like transmission electron microscope, atomic force microscope, etc. So interestingly, as soon as I was thinking about the nanotechnology, immediately a very nice example came to my mind, which was of a movie where the father actually shrinks his kids. The movie name was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and then he kept searching for his kids all throughout the movie. So that was one example where I could immediately think of that movies even have been talking about uh, these kind of things, and obviously they are very nice form of communication of whatsoever is going on in our society. And if you just try to find out the change in the society generation wise, you will observe that the recent movie is Help, I Have Shrunk the Family. So now the situation is reversed. I mean, since the generation is obviously moving fast. So now kids can even utilize this technology and uh, ultimately end up in this kind of mishappenings. Uh, in addition to that, there were a few cartoons which basically sort of caught my attention, where the whole university has one reserve parking, and the professor of nanotechnology has been given another parking where his small nano car is being parked. And also another cartoon was of interest where where one scientist has been shown with full bend to work on the nanoparticles since they're very small in size. So these were some interesting things which I was just going through while I was working on this talk specifically. So I thought of sharing it with all of you. But actually, if we talk about the nano is actually a Greek word which means dwarf, and that is extremely small. So if we talk about the scale, you will see that these small particles, hemoglobin, HIV, they somewhere lie in the nanometer range, and then this range keep on increasing. Our red blood cell lie somewhere between 1 micrometer to 10 micrometer, and similarly, this range keeps on increasing. If we just zoom out a little bit into just the nanometer scale, 1 nanometer to 1,000 nanometer, most of the nanoparticle which have been developed or which are being utilized nowadays, like dendrimers, polymers, nanoparticles, metal nanoparticles, polymer nanoparticles, etc., all lie within the range of 1 to 100 nanometers. So, by definition, the nanoparticle is a particle which has at least one dimension in the nano range. So our biological molecules like hemoglobin, antibody, or influenza viruses also of the nanometer range. Uh, so if we talk about the nanotechnology, that is nothing but the nanoscience is actually the study of nanoparticles for utilizing them in various applications. And then nanotechnology is the use of nanoscience and technology for targeting varied applications, be it energy, medicine, uh, for making nanodevices, cosmetics, nanofibers, nanofabrics, defense and security. You just name a field and you'll find one application of these one application of nanotechnology in that particular field. So this cartoon was very interesting, which actually showed it very nicely, where they say that it's impossible to see them, yet we are constantly exposed to them. That is nanoparticles. So you'll find nanoparticles everywhere. If you put sunscreen on your face, you will have zinc oxide and titanium oxide, which have been used for quite a long time now. If you want to play with your racket, probably that has the carbon nanotube on its handle. If you work on the computer or the laptop, this will have a small chip which is made up of some kind of nanoparticle. So everywhere you'll find thousands of applications of nanotechnology. We can classify these nanomaterials on the basis of structure, composition. So because of that, their properties can be modulated because we can actually we can actually change their composition. For example, we can have organic nanoparticle, inorganic or hybrid nanomaterials. Different examples are given here: carbon nanotubes, mesoporous silica, gold shell, quantum dots, etc., etc. Likewise, if we talk about only the carbon-based nanomaterials, then also there are a lot of them can be observed: carbon nanotubes, graphite, then diamond, then fullerene, graphene dots, quantum dots, a lot of them. Depending upon the change of the color, also nanoparticle varies. Likewise, if we can classify them on the basis of their dimensions also. If a nanoparticle has nano range in 1 dimension, 2 dimension, or 3 dimension, likewise, these nanoparticles can be categorized on the basis of those as well. So before I talk about nanomaterials a little further, since I told you already that I'll be talking about the nanomedicine in particular, uh, I would like to you to pay your attention towards the decline in global health. If you just look at this 2021 data, this was the most recent one which I could get. So you will observe that cardiovascular diseases are putting almost 14.9% burden on the world, followed by respiratory infections, TB, cancer, COVID-19, etc. And this 14.9% means probably millions of them. So a lot of people are getting affected by these diseases, and either because of the lack of proper treatment or because of untimely treatment, because the disease is not diagnosed on time. A lot of these people are eventually die very untimely. So that is something very unfortunate, and we really need to work on improving upon our healthcare system so that we can save some lives. So if why it is important to work on nanotechnology, why traditional drug delivery systems are not working. This is a comparative showing the same. Because traditional drugs basically are not that specific. They affect even the normal healthy cells as well. For example, if we talk about cancer, so a traditional drug doesn't recognize whether it is a normal cell or a cancer cell. It will go and kill both of them eventually. On the contrary, nano devices or the nanotechnology based platforms are very specific, and they target the only the affected site. Then, as far as dosage release is concerned, initially in case of traditional medicines, very high doses are required, and we cannot control them at all. While in case of nano, you can have a controlled dosage system, and those doses are also uh, minimal minimal doses, and we can also control the release of those drugs. At what time do we want them to be released, or when or where we would like them to be released. Efficacy wise also, the drug concentrations which are reaching to the affected site in case of traditional drugs is very low, while in case of nano, that can be very easily optimized, and a specific concentration of the drug reaches to the effective site. Side effects of traditional drug are obviously much more in comparison to nano, because here, since the drugs are going even to the unaffected sites also, or the normal sites also, so they are causing inevitable exposure to them. On the contrary, nano platforms, they are very optimized, and they cause less exposure to the unaffected sites. So if you just look at this cartoon also, you will observe that the conventional methods or the traditional methods of our drug, they cause a lot of side effects, if and including even the drug resistance after some times, and even late stage diagnosis makes it all the more worse. While on the contrary, nanotechnology based platforms, they not only enhance the imaging, they actually can be used for the faster diagnosis, and radiation exposure would be less. Targeted delivery can be done exactly where when we need that drug, we can control that and specifically send the drug to that place. Toxicity will be lower, and the therapeutic efficiency will be higher. So combined therapies can be developed on the basis of these particular properties of nano platforms or the nanomedicine. So what exactly is nanomedicine? As I have mentioned to you already, that nanomaterials, when they're combined with the drug, nanomaterials having the ability of the drug to be drug to be transported to the biological system or the cell. uh, the combination of these nanomaterials and the drug, where drug is a sort of cargo and nanoparticles are basically the sort of train which is taking these cargo to the station, where you really need them to be placed. These platforms, a combination of nanomedicine, nanoparticles, nanomaterials, or the drug, are known as nanomedicines. And these nanomedicines can be delivered in very delivered using various platforms like nasal and nose delivery is possible to brain, and inhalation delivery is also possible, oral delivery is possible, dermal delivery is possible. Likewise, some other form of delivery is also possible, so that optimized drugs can be sent for the better efficacy and lesser toxicity. So these platforms, nano enabled platforms or the nanomedicines, can be utilized for various drug delivery purposes. The nanomaterials, usually why they are of interest to us, because they have specific properties. Their shape can be modulated. They can be of sphere, rod, disc, diamond, worm, like any shape. Their size can be controlled. Their surface charge can be controlled. They can be positively charged, negatively charged, neutral. and the mechanical properties can be controlled, and also targeting ligands which can be attached to them can be of varied type. So because of these properties, because of their unique size, customizable structure, and they can be utilized for diverse applications, starting from drug delivery to diagnostics. A lot of fields, in a lot of fields, they can be utilized. So if we talk about the effective delivery system, what do we need actually? For developing an effective delivery system, we basically need them to be safe. That is, they should have minimal side effect. There should be no aggregate formation. They should be biosafe, and efficacy should be good. Controlled release rate. We should be able to control their release rate. Biodistribution should be good. They should be highly soluble so that they do not form any plaque inside the body and cause another stroke to us because of the same. Encapsulation has to be there. They should be able to cross the physiological barrier or the cell membranes. Wherever these barriers they need to cross, they should be able to do that. So they can be prepared in various through various methods, and their absorption also needs to be taken care of. So just look at few examples which are of nanocarriers which are used in drug delivery. If we talk about solid lipid nanoparticle, you'll observe that a drug is encapsulated inside it. And finally, this nanoplatform is used. Similarly, dendrimers, polymer micelles, carbon nanotubes, mesoporous silica nanoparticles, even virus-like nanoparticles, polymer nanoparticles, or liposomes. All these kinds of nanoplatforms have already been developed, and these nanocarriers are used for the delivery of drugs to the system more effectively and more specifically in a more targeted way. So nanoparticle mediated drug delivery basically need three different very important things. One, they should have a nice nanocarrier which has to be designed in a way that it is biocompatible and biodegradable, so that we don't have to worry about when it goes to the system that what exactly would happen to it once it releases the drug inside the body. It should be able to easily get out of it or get get decomposed there itself. Then targeting mechanisms need to be controlled, whether they are ligand responsive or they are stimuli responsive. How we should be able to control them easily. Also, controlled release if there is a possibility that these engineered nanoparticles, uh, uh, we should also have the ability to control the release of these nanoparticles to the specific location where we want them to payload their drugs. We should be able to control that specific uh, release also. So these are three important things which we need to consider when we are talking about the nanoparticle mediated targeted drug delivery. For example, if we talk about targeting in particular of the by these drug delivery system, these are of two types. So one is passive targeting, which is based purely on the size and geometry of the nanoparticle, and this picture very nicely represents it. So for example, if there is a normal cell, it will have very tight junctions, because of which what will happen, nanomaterial will not be able to enter the cell. On the contrary, tumor cells would have these leakages or the vascular leakages, because of which the size increases, and then they will have uh, gap, and they will become permeable, so that the nanoparticle, which is carrying a drug, or the nanoplatform carrying drug, can very easily insert into it for targeting the tumor cells. So this is able to target it specifically, because this is not harming our normal cells. Because of these tight junctions, it is not able to enter the normal cells. So it will be very specifically targeting only the tumor cells. So this is purely dependent on the size and geometry. And another way of targeting these targeting the tumor cells or some other cells is through these nanodrug delivery platforms is through the active targeting, in which what happens is they are not dependent on size or geometry. Basically, in this kind of targeting, what happens is that you attach the affinity ligands like antibodies, DNA, RNA, etc., to the nanoparticle surface, and then these nanoparticle carrying drugs finally will go and recognize these specific receptors which are present on the tumor's tissues, and then they will go inside and finally kill the tumor cell very specifically, since the normal tissue doesn't have these receptors on it. So they will not be able to they will not be killed by this particular kind of targeting. So this is also very important. So these two, passive and active targeting mechanisms, are utilized by the nano drug delivery systems, and the drugs are and these nano platforms are made or planned according to these particular targeting schemes. I would like to give a very recent example of COVID-19 vaccines, in which the nanotechnology was used to deliver these vaccines to our cell, in which the mRNA molecule was used, and mRNA molecule was used because so that this RNA molecule basically was of the size that it was not recognized by the enzyme, so that enzyme could not harm it. And then finally, also, it was very specific, and it could enter the cell membrane and nuclear membrane, and uh, could finally uh, actively target the COVID-19 virus as and when it was required by developing some antibodies. I do not wish to discuss the mechanism in detail, but Pfizer and Moderna use these nanotechnology-based COVID-19 vaccines quite recently. If we talk about one example, I would like to give of the breast cancer, which is one of the most identified kind of cancer, because because it can be easily identified, sometimes even just by looking at it with the naked eye, and a diagnosis becomes a little easier because of that. So conventional diagnostic techniques basically do have different systems: CT imaging, PET scanning, bone scintigraph, etc., scintigraph, etc. But nanoparticle mediated diagnostics have recently been used, in which iron oxide nanoparticles, or the self-illuminating nanoprobes, or the superparamagnetic iron oxide nanoparticles, peptide functionalized magnetic nanoparticles have been utilized for the quick diagnosis of the breast cancer. And most of these nanoparticles have been utilizing their magnetic or the fluorescent properties for the identification of breast cancer. For example, quantum dots, nanoshells, gold nanoparticles. These are very commonly used nanomaterials for as far as diagnosis is concerned. Similarly, for therapy, liposomes, carbon nanotubes, polymeric micelles, dendrimers, and quantum dots can be utilized. Uh, any uh, any particle which has magnetic property, nanoparticle which has magnetic property or the fluorescent property, they are the most important particles to be used in case of the diagnostic procedures, like in case of magnetic resonance imaging, computer tomography, optical fluorescence, usually gold nanoparticles or the quantum dots, gadolinium chelated nanoparticles, core shell nanoparticles. These kind of nanoparticles are used, which can be easily located inside the cells, and they can be used as a very nice and quick diagnostic method for the identification of different kinds of diseases, including cancer. So another very fine example of the use of nanomedicines is in cancer, which has been utilized for quite a long time by um, various institutions, or uh, people have been coming up with a lot of nanomedicines. Uh, in last few decades, and some of them are even FDA approved drugs. I'll come to that later. So if we talk about the nanomedicine, which is when circulated inside the, which is given in the blood circulation, then what happens is these tumor tissues, they are very target specific. Uh, Sorry, the not tumors, but the drugs, they are very specific, because these drugs which are you are I'm talking about the nanomedicines, which means that nanomaterials which are having the drugs inside them, drug is encapsulated inside them, and because you can actually modulate the properties of these drugs using either the external stimuli, which can be in the form of heat, NIR, ultrasound, magnet, or UV, or even internal stimuli, which can be enzyme, pH, or ATP. You can actually change the ligand exposure, or maybe their charge can be changed, or maybe their size can be changed. So you can actually target them very specifically for the tumor accumulation, so that it gets accumulated exactly on the tumor sites, and then it goes inside the tumor for the tumor penetration, and also for the cellular internalization, so that it goes inside the cell where it has to go, and for the subcellular localization, once it enters the cell, then it also can identify the exact place where it has to go and unload the drug. So it is very, very target specific process, and these drug delivery systems have already been utilized, and a lot of drugs have already been approved for the cancer treatment. Um, by FDA, though they have a lot of advantages also, but there are disadvantages as well. They have some toxicity issues still, which are persisting with them, but still, since the advantages are comparatively much more than the disadvantages, these drugs have been approved, and people have been and the our healthcare professionals have been using them, but still there are research labs or pharmaceutical industries which are working on the improvement of these drugs. Similarly, a lot of oral nanomedicines or the pulmonary nanomedicines are also either in market or they are in clinical trials. There are different kinds of transdermal nanomedicines, nasal nose brain nanomedicines. They are also in preclinical trials. I mean, a lot of nanomedicines targeting various diseases are already either in market or in clinical or preclinical stages, and a lot of research labs are already working on the further improvement of these particular drugs. So these nanomedicines, they can basically utilize for various purposes of healthcare. They can be used for gene therapy, not only drug delivery. I just talked about the drug delivery as one application, but they can be used for the gene therapy, genetic disorders, ocular diseases, uh, for uh, for n number of applications, for tissue engineering, diagnosis. I have already talked about. So they can be utilized for different purposes. These nanomedicines, nanorobots, I didn't mention about them. Nanorobots are being also utilized for delivering the drugs nowadays inside the cells. So where exactly we are heading towards using these nanotherapeutics? So basically what we are trying to do is we are trying to reach to a level where personalized medicines can be given to individuals for their specific diseases. So first step would be we should be able to do the genomic profiling, so that we know a patient's genetic and molecular markers. We can identify, so that we can identify the personalized disease targets or drug sensitivity of that particular patient. Then we'll design a nano medicine according to these properties to selectively target the patient's unique disease characteristics. And finally, we will be we should be able to do the adaptive monitoring. That is, we should be able to continuously monitor patient's response and how is adapting to the nanotherapeutic regime for optimal efficacy and safety. So these are the prime goals which we are going to which we plan to achieve from these nanotherapeutics. As far as the future of nanomedicine is concerned, one I have already mentioned, personalized medicines can be developed Another would be we can try to integrate the diagnostic, therapeutic, and monitoring capabilities in a single nano platform, which will surely revolutionize the patient care. Right now, we are able to do them individually, but if we can do them simultaneously using only one platform, that will be just wonderful. Uh, so let's just go back to the last application. And using artificial intelligence and machine learning, we can obviously try to develop some smart and adaptive nanomedicine schemes as well. So this was the first part of this talk where I mentioned all about the nanomedicines. I would like to close it here. And in the second part of the talk, I will talk in the second part of this particular topic, I would like to talk about the nanomedicines and the artificial intelligence, specifically what it does, what are the basic applications of artificial intelligence and how can we combine nanomedicine and the artificial intelligence and what are their convergent roles and applications in advancing the healthcare systems. So that we'll be talking with all of you uh, in the next part, and I hope you have liked this talk. Kindly share your comments so that um, I can probably try to improve upon it a little further. And if you have any specific questions, if you wish to know a little bit more about any other topic related to this, please do let me know. I'll see if I can share that as well. So thank you very much for listening to this presentation with patience. Thanks a lot.